You are listening to the SDSU podcast presented by the East Village Times with your hosts Andre Hagberdian and Paul Garrison. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the SDSU podcast. I am your host Andre Hagberdian, and I will be joined shortly by my co-host Paul Garrison. Want to wish all of our listeners a happy new year. This is episode 114, our first one of 2024. I know we hit our listeners up with, I believe, 3 episodes in the middle of December in a week, knowing that, the holidays coming up and the new year, we were probably going to be tied up and not able to put anything out. So it has been a couple weeks, I think, since our last episode, which was our signing day special on December 20th, live show on YouTube. So if you missed that, make sure to go back and check it out. Sean Lewis and the new coaching staff have done a lot in a short period of time, filling up not just high school class of 2024 guys, but guys in the transfer portal, replenishing positions of need that were lost either through graduation or outgoing transfers. So definitely go back and listen or watch that episode. Paul and I both put out articles recently in the last week on eastvillagetimes.com that talked about where the offense and defensive units looked and what potential transfers they may still need before the spring semester starts in about a week or so. So definitely go back and read those if you did not. Today's episode is a basketball one, though. J.D. Pollock, the former director of player development at San Diego State, who retired from basketball and coaching and moved to Texas with his wife and kids to enter a different industry in the next chapter of his life, is back. We had him on episode 104 right at the start of the season to talk about his experience on Banner Night and what he thinks of this team, what he thought this team would look like as the season was getting underway. Now we kind of have we have 15 games in the books, and we have a much more bigger sample size. And to get JD's thoughts on what he has seen, both as a team and individually, and what the rest of this conference season could look like, and the potential of this team. Really interesting, obviously, to get his perspective from someone that was on the inside for so many years. So yeah, let's get to this interview with JD. Paul and I sat down with him Monday night, and it was a great conversation. I know you guys will enjoy it. So let's get to it. We want to welcome back JD Pollock to the podcast. How's your night going, man?
It's going well. I'm glad to be back with you guys.
Absolutely. When we talked to you, I think it was just after the first game of the season, because we were talking about Banner Night and you being there in person. Now we're almost halfway through the season, a couple games in the conference play. What's your overall impressions been on how the team's done?
It's interesting because in a way it's almost just exactly what you'd expect. They're getting better. The guys are more comfortable. You can see it in multiple players. And there's specific examples of growth. There's things like doubling Big Eduardo with Fresno and seeing the guys rotate, and Reese is 2 steps quicker than he used to be to get that steal at the top in a fast break that we've all seen. And guys are rotating. We got what we call top eye, bottom eye on the backside, and they're there quicker. They're there without thinking. And that's why Dutch preaches what he does, which is, man, we're going to get better throughout the year. Let us just teach it. Let us mold this new group. You can't just say it's the same team, because it's not. And you use that veteran leadership. And, everybody talked about how much veteran leadership the Aztecs lost last year, and guys are going to take ownership of the team in one way or another, whether it's Lamont or Micah or Darion or Jaden, or somebody's going to take control, and they're just slowly going to grow together. That's what a great team does, and they're figuring it out.
Yeah, we definitely want to get into more specifics, offense, defense, and players. But, today is Monday. The polls came out this morning. San Diego State is 19 in the AP and in the coaches poll. But the last couple weeks, there was somehow San Diego State wasn't in the polls, despite some of the teams they had beaten were. And I'm just kind of curious, as someone that was on the inside of the team for several years, like how did the team approach or even think about like what the AP poll said, what the coaches poll said? Did that even factor into any of the team's discussions?
With the staff, I'd say it just comes up in recruiting. It's just a talking piece. You just get to say, we're ranked. It just looks good when you pull up the ESPN app and you got a number next to you and the little ticker's got a number. That's just a little bit of pride and ownership. But honestly, I don't think the guys care at all, truthfully. I think that they might mention a one-liner, be like, man, that's crap. And then they go play because and when they get to a certain level, they know that they're just about to go take care of business anyway. And, I don't mean off nights and all that. I just mean belief in the program and who they are. And so I'd say, just because maybe the coaches' minds are just more aware of everything that kind of goes on into the whole sport, whereas the guys are just taking care of themselves. They're taking care of their roommates. They're taking care of their bodies. They don't really worry about that, I would assume, as much as the staff recognizes it. Like, all right, back to work. There's nothing we can do about it. They know they're a good team. And I think up until maybe a year or two ago, the highest that they had ever been ranked in the preseason before this year was like 17 or something. Look at the record over these years and years and years. So it's just kind of a cadence at this point. Just start the year at 25th every year, and then if you win a game, you stay in. If you lose a game, you go out in the first month. And that's just kind of Aztec basketball. But I think they're in the rankings to stay from here on, personally.
Now, you mentioned the improvement. I'm going to ask you a few questions that a little bit later, but that improvement is not just the players, right? The coaches grow and the coaches are working on their craft as well. Has there been anything that you've seen maybe that surprised you, or maybe a new wrinkle that they've kind of brought out that maybe has been a little bit of a catalyst for the growth that we've seen?
I've seen something that we were even working on last year that I know has been an emphasis with Dutch, in that he just despises when a guard puts his hand up and says, like, come get me, like, come give me a screen, because all that does is just kill any flow. Even if you didn't have any flow, the defense just gets to shrink. And it's like, okay, let's get ready, And so whether the set works, whether it's transition, whatever it is, they're in more flow. The ball just kind of keeps moving. So late in the clock, whether it's 8 seconds or 15 seconds, if the initial look doesn't work, or if they swing it, can't get it to Jaden, whatever it is, they're immediately getting a flash and they play the other side. There's way less of kind of like, what do I have? Elijah, J-Pal, Jaden, they're all flashing and then playing the other side, whether it's the dribble handoff, what we call the dribble action, the zoom action to the corner. It's so hard to guard because there's multiple bodies involved. And I think they're just getting to it quicker, which has been really good. And then obviously, with it being one of our main actions, the guards have done it more and more now over 2-3 years. And so they're reading it quicker. If they don't want it, or if they're being top locked, they're back cutting immediately. They're not fighting it, trying to war over and get the ball no matter what. You got back cuts, you got curls, you got handoffs, you got keep it from the first guy, that Jokic type play with the second guy. I just think they all know the options a little bit quicker. And so I think that's helping. I think it helps the bigs, first of all, because they're more confident with the ball in their hand. And then also I think it helps the guards because they know, I'm going to get it, just keep moving. I'm going to get it. I don't have to force my way to go get the ball right now or anything like that. And so I just think it's opening up shots. I think it's spacing. If it gets a little jammed up, it's like, all right, no big deal. Just cut away and we'll play. So I just think the composure is a little bit better in the pace of it.
I'd argue that the last maybe like 3 games defensively, this team has looked actually like what you look at and you think of an Aztec team.
Yeah.
What have you seen on the defensive end?
Yeah, it's funny because that's, as you guys know, that's all I ever cared about anyway. So that's how I fit in so quickly with the Aztec program. It's like, man, as long as we don't take bad shots, I don't care what we do down there, but we're going to guard. We're going to dive on the floor. We're going to go crazy. that, as you know, Coach Dave and Dutch and the guys always say, like, the ball is the problem. That's what scores. So get off your man. I'll never forget, like, Matt Bradley, the first day of practice. He's trying to listen. He came here to be coachable. Everything we said in recruiting came true. And we were like, Matt, get off, get off. And he's like, but my guy's over there. And not like close to him, like way over there. And we're like, we know, get off. And so the more this team is hearing that as well, they're more comfortable getting off. The timing of getting back after a stunt, all that comes true. And so it's funny you ask about the growth defensively, because that's just as relevant as the offensive growth and timing and all that. And those guys, I mean, all the recruiting talks are true. You play defense or you don't play defense at all, and you're not going to be out there. And so Coach Dave even sent me a screenshot early in the year, and he said, what's wrong with this? And the ball was on the ground, and I think two of the newer guys were kind of looking at it, and they weren't just, frogs splashing on top of the ball. And I don't think you'll see that anymore. I just think the standard is the standard, and I think new guys just jump right into shape, and they're all diving for loose balls now, so it just grows, it just becomes part of you and you want it. That's a winning program.
I got the pleasure of going to Gonzaga and covering the Gonzaga game 2 weeks ago. I remember a distinct play of Reese Waters, a loose ball on the ground heading out of bounds, and Reese Waters was not the closest person to the ball, and he ended up getting it because he dove on the ground and got it, kicked it out, and they started a transition. I don't know if he's one of the two guys you're talking about, but he definitely made that play and grabbed that ball from that. Obviously, you watched the Gonzaga game. What did you make of that performance? Obviously, it's the biggest game of the season at this point because of, playing on the road on a ranked team. What did you make of that performance?
I think it was big. I think that with a new team, with it non-conference, every game is a building block. Every game is belief. It's not necessarily a setback if you don't get it. It just kills time. It's like, all right, well, let's just get to the next one. We'll be all right. But when you get it, you're that much higher. You're that much closer. And so it was a great win for the program. I mean, that away record, I think everybody knows Gonzaga this year is not what they've been, but that's not a knock on the win. Look at that record. They have a program. They're not a team either, just like San Diego State. They're a program. You don't just go there and win. And they're probably going to run right through the WCC again and do what they do. So the win will mean a lot probably in the next, year or two. Honestly, I think you'll always go back to like, well, San Diego State's the last team to go up there and win. And that'll probably be the talking point for a while. But what I liked about the game basketball wise was just composure. The guys looked like they belonged. I've personally never been up there. I want to, but I don't know what it's like when the kids aren't there. I'm sure it's completely different when they're there, just like it is in Viejas. So, just trying to keep all things considered. I don't know if it was as loud as possible for what they're known for, like we are, but it's a great win. I know, especially for new guys that didn't make that run last year in the tournament, that just gives them a ton of belief, because you feel like if you go in there, then let's go to Colorado State, let's go to Utah State, and it'll be just like Grand Canyon was, just like Gonzaga was. They'll be battle tested, which was the whole point of that tough non-conference schedule as it was. But it was good. I mean, there were spurts from different guys, and different guys are contributing. I'm sure we'll get to this in a second, but it's less reliant on Jaden right now. Multiple guys are finding spots and finding timing, and it's not just like, Jaden, carry us, man, just get after it. And so he's still getting his moments. He's still going on a 7-0 run by himself in 45 seconds and playing special, but it's not like, Jaden, just get us to the finish line, not at all. So that's what's been cool about these last couple of games is, Miles and J-Pow coming in and completely changing it. And then Darion just going completely insane in the first half and all that stuff. I mean, those things are all so valuable. So it's been fun to see.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about the getting better over as the year goes on. And it seems like just clockwork. It happens every year with San Diego State, especially under Brian Dutcher. It's not really the way life is typically. How does San Diego State do it every year?
One of my favorite lines that I think it goes all the way back to Coach Hudson, and now Dave's using it all the time. is sticking to it is the genius. And so that doesn't mean anything complicated. It means be true to what you emphasize, be true to who you are, and sticking to it is a genius, because that's exactly what we're talking about, is that over time, we're going to be just like that. And that's how the veterans look back, and they're so comfortable with it. It's like, hey, this is how we do it. Do it this way, and not being rude or mean or ripping them. It's like, hey, put your foot this way, because I've done it so much that I'm not getting introduced to new ideas all the time. The program's not searching for answers, like, they're hitting a bunch of threes. Maybe we should go zone, like, please, we believe in what we do. Or, oh, we're not scoring right now. It's one of those famous 5-minute scoring droughts, which is funny that when you're a part of the program, you feel like people want to talk about it. Every program in the country goes through them, but it's like, okay, we went through a scoring drought. Fellas, we're playing well in offense. We're getting good looks. Like, stick to it. And so I really do think that's the basis for it. And then, like you also mentioned, though, I mean, the coaches learn the team. You learn where guys are playing well, and you learn, you cater to them. It doesn't mean you're just going to change what we're doing, change the sets or any of that, but where guys are special in certain spots. How good Micah is at refusing a wing ball screen. How good Jaden is at the elbow. So it's not just a one-off, like, oh, I think he played well there. Exactly in the back of your brain, you've got all these things adding up throughout the course of the year. And that's what makes, personally, that's what makes Dutch one of the best in the country, is he's so composed. He's so comfortable with his team, with the moment, that he does a great job of instilling belief in everybody, the staff and the players. Obviously he's been around the game forever. He's forgotten more than we'll ever know, but it does spread, in that he's perfectly fine with any situation. So
I'm not satisfied with that answer.
okay.
And just the sense of, like, it's so special. Like, everybody, you ask anybody anywhere, in any book you read, in anything about, it's continual improvement, it's continual growth. You ought to completely do it. But it just doesn't happen everywhere. But with San Diego State, it happens. It's just such it's an interesting thing. Somebody should do a case study. Andre, you up for it?
Yeah, let me fit that into my my schedule right there.
Yeah, you're not doing anything. You got time.
Right.
I mean, that line is so broad, that sticking to it of the genius is so broad, but that applies to everything. It applies to practice. The guys go live the day before the game still. We're not. I mean, obviously we're smart and we cater to legs and all that. We may not go full court or whatever, but they compete daily. That's how you get live reps. That's how you work on your timing. It's not, you don't take pro days and just do an individual workout. We've gone over that before. The guys are doing that at 7 and 8 a.m. on their own.
Right.
And so I do think that the workload through the season is part of it. It's not the NBA where you just walk around in your sweats and talk about the scout and say, Jokic is going to do this and try and take that away. Like, they're live. And so the more you go live, the more you're going to get better at it. And, like, how is Jay Powell supposed to learn it if he only goes live for 3 months before the season starts? And then when the season comes, you only get those game reps. That's what, 10 reps on a day? So he's getting 30 in a practice, but it's throughout the season. So he's going to get 30 more tomorrow and 30 more tomorrow. And so I think that's part of it. I've been a part of some other programs that go hard through the season. I've been part that start tapering it back down, and they do it more like a pro, where it's like, hey, let's just, concentrate on the opponent. Let's go over 5-on-0. People run 5-on-0 for hours at other programs, and we're still out there guarding and rebounding and competing, and and the vets are getting on young guys if they're not doing it. It's just the way it is. So I think that's how that is a steady improvement. I think it all adds up.
No, it's great. And I think at the end of the day, it's an art. You guys are artists and coaches figuring out that program. But love for you to break down some just X's and O's for us, because I think you can see the game in a way. I think you described Coach Dutcher as forgetting more basketball than we'll ever know. I think that could be said about you, about us. You know what I mean? So
there's always a waterfall effect. It continues.
Yeah. So it just depends where you're looking. But just starting with how teams are defending the Aztecs. What's some of the scouting report that you're seeing?
Well, even going back to last year, we learned all the way back in Maui with with Arizona and some of those teams, like if you top lock our dribble handoff action, you can disrupt it a little bit, but all it does is get you to the second thought. And so any slip is open, because if they're switching a ball screen or a pin away or our dribble handoff, that's just a basketball rule. Any switch, you slip. So we call it green, and you can just green out and you get real close to them to where they think you're about to set it and you slip and you're gone. And then are we switching? Are we not switching? He didn't set it. I thought he was going to set it, but he's out. And so who's going with the slip? And that goes with any screen. And so when we do a dribble handoff, whether it's the back cut from the guy in the corner, the slip from the screener, somebody's going to be open, even if he doesn't get the ball, just to make the defense react and collapse. Now you have your next option. So even if you don't just throw a no-look dime for a layup, okay, big deal. It was a threatening cut. They're going to react to it. Next option, let's play what we want to get to. And so I've really liked that, to where we're imposing our will, is even if you want to try and switch it, even if you want to top lock it, no problem. We're fine. We're going to get to it anyway. And so it also helps with Jaden being able to play one-on-one up top, to where it's, okay, fine, do whatever you want over there. First of all, if you're top locking, you're not even looking at the ball because you're just face guarding your man over on the wing. Well, we have one of the best players in the country playing one-on-one at the foul line then with no help. We would take that every play down, as long as Jaden doesn't pass out from fatigue. So, because he plays so dang hard. But that's not a good defensive scout. Yes, you're taking away one threat. You just let our best player go against your 5-man when we have an atypical 5-man, and he's going to just cook him. He's going to do that 2-dribble spin. He's going to shoot his jump shot. He's going to jump stop, shot fake, get you to foul him. Like, he's got an arsenal of stuff to where when he does it, you feel like you felt it coming, but he's got 3 or 4 solid moves he can get to that it's not just a one-off. You can't just say he's going to shoot a jumper, a face-up. You can't just say he's bully ball because he's got that famous now spin move dunk that he did on Bama, and he's doing it again this year. So he's got it all. He's got a little jump hook. And so you can't top lock and say you're being successful because you took away a handoff when you're leaving Jaden Ledee one-on-one. And you can't also just let us get to where we want to get to with the way Reese is shooting it, with the way Darion can heat up, and even Miles stepping back and hitting some. So you can't go under. But if you chase it, then you're just letting us get middle, and then we get all our options. You get Jaden on a roll, you get a flare or a pin down on the backside, then we get all our options. So it's why we all love the action. And that's, obviously they put new sets in like we talked about last time. They got high-low for Jaden. I love the wide pin downs to where we're not even doing the dribble handoff. We're doing a quick flip it back, get a flare, ball screen, and then if we don't like it, it's kind of like some Creighton stuff to where when we come off, Miles Heidi or Jaden, whoever set a little ghost ball screen, just sprints to the corner and continues their action to a wide pin down. So really, we're just kind of bringing it across the midline to throw it to a wide pin, which is like we used to call it like Miami Heat type action. They used to run back in the day with Dwayne Wade and all those guys, is you just get them as much room as possible. Just get them deep in the corners. And then if you get pin downs, they got a world of room to work with. So I've just seen some really good stuff. We really are better on offense this year. Some of that's talent. Some of that's familiarity with the team. Some of that's just what we've been running isn't year one anymore. We've changed it since it was Malachi and KJ and Yanni 4 years ago. And we've changed it, since it was Matt Mitchell and Jordan Shackle. So it's morphed. It's the same base, but we've morphed it to fit these guys and get them in the right spots. And it's been fun to see.
No doubt it's been fun. So one of the interesting parts about this year is, and again, this is just my opinion about it, players like Jaden Ledee don't come around in college basketball very often. Guys that are just, like last year's team, there were definitely players that would be featured offensively, but it was much more democratic, I guess. You
didn't know where shots were coming from.
Yeah, and with this team, and it seems like, as it should be, it's anchoring, centering the whole, whatever. If he's the sun, all the other pieces are the planets around him.
Yeah.
In some ways, is that harder because a player of like that skill doesn't come around very often, and you almost have to kind of figure out how to do that because it just doesn't apply to what was happening last year, even the year before.
Right. I think the balancing act, at least from me seeing, because like we talked about in, I think it was October, we all thought Jaden was going to do this last year.
Yeah.
So this was like building, and he needed to get back in game shape. He needed to get game timing. He needed to believe he was the man and not think he was the man. And so, like, I was on record last year saying, like, I think Jaden's going to average like 20 and 10 last year.
Yeah.
And so they were like, man, I don't know. He hadn't played in a long time. And da, da, da. But then we'd get to practice, he would just kill.
Yeah.
And so we were like, this dude's going to be crazy. So it's kind of just been adding up to this. To me, to answer your question, though, I think it's only harder if he doesn't get going. Because then it's like, all right, well, do we keep feeding him to get him going? Or do we just kind of move it around and play more similar to last year? Because, I mean, he's so good at passing. That's the most underrated thing of his game, is he can draw it and get off of it. He can do a 2-dribble punch and get off it. And it draws so much attention because you think he's going to score every time he gets it. But I just think that that's his balancing act, is if I'm not going, am I feeling it and it's in and out, or am I out of rhythm? And he's got to be so mature about, maybe get to the foul line like any good scorer. Like, let me just get myself going a different way. And so that, without being there this year when he is killing, and it just having just those moments last year towards the end of the season where he's just an animal, that would be my guess. I'm not in the huddles anymore, and I respect the huddle too much to where I would never act like I am, because I'm not calling over there and pestering them for questions or answers. But that would be my guess, is it's like, well, how long do we try and play through Jay? Or should we just get Micah a 3 because it seems like they're all so smooth? Do we get Reese, a quick curl to that foul line pull up, and it basically looks like Jordan Shackle. It goes in every dang time. So I think it is still spread around. I just think when he gets going, it feels like, yeah, Jaden, just go, baby Joe, but if he starts off 0 for 4, 0 for 5, and he gets a foul or 2 or here or there, they're so talented all around to just kind of play through it, that I think he's going to get his touches either way, and you don't have to force it. So,
the one thing he's getting used to now is dealing with double teams.
Yeah.
I think the UNLV game was maybe the game where he got the most double teams, and he was getting guys coming from the weak side where he wasn't seeing them, and it caused him a little bit of troubles. Where do you think those opportunities are, regardless of where the double teams are coming up, where he can make he can facilitate the offense moving forward?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to honestly to Jalen McDaniels, in that Jalen's second year, he was getting doubled. And one, he had never been doubled before. He had turned into a pro prospect because of his speed and his length and all these intangibles, but it wasn't because he averaged 20 and 10. It was, because he was getting 10 and 10. And I think he even broke Kawhi's double-double record for consecutive games. I think he got 8 or 9 in a row or something like that. And so all of a sudden, Jalen McDaniels is getting doubled. And so he's used to beating his guy, and maybe that little famous jump stop push shot for that floater. Well, now all of a sudden there's a guy there. You're the focal point. And so that was his big step, was, how do I play with that second guy? Do I need to get it up quicker? Do I need to get off of it? Do I need to spin back and do that pretty little fadeaway he had? But he needed more of a plan, as opposed to just, I'm about to cook my guy. And that's what his mentality was as a freshman. It was like, well, I got him, but we had Malik Pope and Trey Kell and all these guys. So Jalen got to do whatever he wanted. And Jaden's going to go through that a little bit here in conference. His name's on every chart you can find, every list now, and then the numbers speak for themselves. So even if you weren't talking about him, as soon as you print the stats up, it'll be like, okay, we probably need to double that guy. And so I think he'll have to play a little bit more face up. That way you see it coming. That way his back's not to it, and these guys can't surprise him or anything. Good thing for him is he does have a face up jumper to where he can just face up and hit it. You can't double a guy in the middle. So when he does catch it in the foul line, you're not going to come double from anywhere there. So you can help, you can do things even like we try and do. We always make guys guard, go against multiple bodies, and even in the middle. So, but you can't send a double. And so that'll let him kind of get some freedom and room. But yeah, any post touch, this team can shoot. So he's a willing passer. I can promise you on my basketball coaching life, he does not care if he scores 20. And so he's not wired like that. He trains like it, but he is not worried about, did I get 20 tonight? So if they double him every time, that is Reese, Darion, Micah, Miles, Lamont, like somebody's going to shoot a three. And I mean, that's just old school basketball there. Draw a double and throw it for a three. So they were doing that before the three ball was the three ball. I mean, that's old school 3-point shots. And so he's definitely a threat. And him being a willing passer is the key to me to the rest of the season. And the fact that he is, I feel great about it.
Like Jay, Micah Parrish is also going from a reserve last year to a starter this year. What have you seen from his game this year?
I love Micah, man. He's so poised, so composed. I mean, he plays like a fifth-year senior. I mean, I really do. I think he's so underrated. He's so valuable. He can guard, he can rebound, he can dribble, he can shoot. I mean, he does everything for him. And I mean, I think he's one of the best wings in the country. I don't care about stats. It's just about playing basketball, and he could play for any team in America. I mean, obviously, if we're ranked, then he's one of our key pieces. But I mean, you can throw him on Kentucky, Duke, and Kansas right now. He'd start for every one of them. And so I think he's great. He knows that. He puts so much work in. I think it was the very first shooting session of the off season, and he opened up like 33 for 33 from the three. And I was like, okay, good start. Let's keep it going. And so, I mean, he knows he can let it go. That's why he's so good at lulling them to sleep and raising up. The hardest one he does is that quick shot fake and then go again. I mean, that's like a shooting drill to make it difficult. Is guys will try and get themselves out of rhythm and then raise up and shoot it. And he just buries it. So I think Mike is huge. I mean, they all played starter minutes last year, certain games anyway. They just didn't literally stand there at the jump ball. They were all starters last year as well. So they could start for any team. They could have started last year, and the other guys come off. We'd have been just as good.
Micah is by far one of the top interviews because you just don't know what he's going to say.
Yeah.
So, hey, man, how'd you get 6 rebounds? We asked him the other night. I think rebounding is kind of luck. The ball has to come to you. Hey, man, you hit all these threes. You're a great shooter. I don't really think I'm a shooter. I'm a scorer. That's what I've been my entire. And you're just like, all right, man.
Yeah.
And he gives such intelligent, I think, non-robotic answers that bring about his personality. And then they always make you think. Like, he's just absolutely terrific. So another person who's going through maybe a little bit of a different kind of change is Lamont Butler. And the question that we were getting from fans that I'm sure, I think we asked you in October, is everyone was like, okay, so he made a shot like Michael Jordan in North Carolina, and so now he's going to become Michael Jordan, right? Like, that's how that works. Yeah. You do that, and then you're catapulted to this, and then he's been becoming this like pass first point guard. His defense is still unbelievable, but I'm wrong in just thinking that there is another level for Lamont to be playing at this year with this team, and that can make the Aztecs even scarier?
I mean, I think so. I think that it's just him doing what the other guys are doing, which is have his moments, is Reese is getting his points, but he's not going crazy all game long. There's moments in the game when it's flowing to him and he bangs a couple and they call timeout. Micah opens up the game, it seems like every game, with a three, and then gets one of those like shoulder in the chest off the glass when he turns the corner and he finishes on that side so pretty. Mm-hmm. And Mont's getting those opportunities. The ball's going to go in. I mean, but he's had big moments when he hits 2 or 3 threes in a row and all of a sudden starts a run. He just, like you said, those expectations are just that. I mean, he trains like a champ. He is a champ. Mm-hmm. And the ball is going to go in. So for him, I can't even imagine what an off season he had mentally. Obviously, right. I know he felt great, but a lot came with that. And so I have no idea what that felt like because I never had an opportunity to feel in a moment like that. But I know how hard he works. I know what he's built of. You can't score on him. I think he's 3-to-1 assist turnover ratio. I mean, he's playing so well in so many other areas that you can't really appreciate what he does because we're all just driven to look at points. But right. I think basketball people know how valuable he is.
Absolutely.
And I mean, there's so many ways to impact the game that without throwing the ball in the hole. And I think he does them all of them. So, and then he has times when he's scoring too. So, I mean, he's gonna have those moments. But yes, when he has those moments, it's just like, oh, okay, one more weapon, and then it's just like, well, who? It's one of those years. It's because the offense is so dangerous, it's more similar than last year to the 1920 year, where I remember specific possessions watching Mal raise up and hit a three, throw it up and head to Jordan, hit a three, Yanni run the court and dunk it, KJ come down and hit a pull-up, and then Matt Mitchell come down and do his one-on-one fadeaway. And I'm like, all 5 guys just scored, and like they're just hooping. And this team can do that. This team can go Mont with a quick layup downhill, and then Darion hit a three, Miles get a steal and a dunk, Jaden do his thing, Reese hits one, and it's just kind of like, man, boom, boom. J Pal, offensive rebound, put back, hit a three. Everybody's capable, and they're just kind of getting more comfortable. And so Mont's right there in that, is that if he can get obviously just a little bit more consistent with the ball going in, which just comes with time and reps that he's already doing, he's going to get it. He's already doing everything else. So if he can join in and get those little 6-0 spurts and all that, it's just one more, I mean, he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, no, I think he's playing great. I mean, I thought one of the things that I thought was really good against Fresno State is, you were talking about if it's not working on one side, getting it back to the other side, and they would get it back to Lamont, and then Lamont would immediately take it right back to the side where the ball came from. And with the defense moving back to the other side, he was finding that dribble pull up from like the foul line. He got to the rim a couple of times. He's so athletically gifted. And so strong that again, I think that there's a lot there for him. But talk a little bit more about Reese Waters, man. First of all, what was USC thinking? How on earth did they not did they let him go?
He's so good.
Oh, he's so good. And then I mean, it's so hard because if there's a player on the team that you would go and say, like, you need to be more selfish, it's Reese Waters, right? You go and say, hey man, you're for 9, you might want to stretch that out to 12.
Feel free to shoot it again.
It's really good. But at the same time, there's so many pieces that his ability to like really pick his shots and be that efficient just elevates everybody around him. But you're the coach, man. Tell me, is that the right way to see it?
Oh, for sure. Reese, I just am so convinced Reese is going to play in the NBA. I just really think so. I think that he's so composed. All he does is want to play basketball. He doesn't have all these crazy distractions. Like, he just loves basketball. But he's got a little bit of like the Matt Bradley unselfish thinking, to where like Matt used to ask, like, do I need to be passing it more? We're like, no, go kill, like just get after it. And Reese, he's quieter, calmer, but he's got a little bit of that in him, not to where he's asking that specific question, but just to where he's aware, like, I'm with good players, like, let's just play basketball. And he didn't come here to score 40 a game. He came here to win, like so many of these other previous transfers. And he knew by our recruiting, first of all, of him out of high school, then out of knowing some of the former players that were leaving and all that, is he knew that he was going to get a fair crack and a good opportunity. So I don't think he felt like he needed to force it or prove anything day one. I think he just came to play basketball. And, thank goodness he's really dang good at it. And so, yeah, I mean, every time he raises up, I think it's going in. I really do, to where it's like, it's just one of those new age shots that we weren't trained, like I was taught like Ray Allen and JJ Redick, like, get it to your shot pocket and then like let it go, like get it here and let it go. And then it's kind of been like Steve Nash and now Steph, to where it's this all-in-one motion. It just is up and out all at the same time. And Jordan Shackle does it, and Reese does it, to where when he gets to that, as soon as he grabs the ball, it's just up and out. He doesn't ever stop. There is no like get it to your elbow and then go shoot. And it's just it's the prettiest shot in the world. And I've told my brother to watch. I tell Irene to watch, and I'm like, every time he shoots it, it's so smooth. And it's just like a quiet shot. It's just up and out, and it just looks like it's going in. And so I love him. I think he's an NBA player. USC, I just think that, they were talented, and I think he was just trying to find a spot, and, he just, we're a good home for a lot of people. So it's, people are having success up there, and he just needed a new home. So it worked out really well. But yeah, I think he may go crazy in conference.
I think Reese might be one of the few college athletes that is on zero social media. Like, I don't think he's on. I don't think he's not on Twitter, because we tried when we put out the podcast episode with him. I think I went to try to tag him in it, and I could not find
Yeah.
him. I don't think he's on
Yeah.
Instagram. So when you said all he wants to do is hoop, that checks out, because that clearly is what his main focus is.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were doing housing and stuff, all he wanted to know was how close is it to the practice gym. Like, he's very, very
Incredible.
like, this is all I need. This is what I came here to do. This is what I like doing, and he's got a great family behind him, and they've put him in a great position to be successful. And like Dutch says, it's just our turn to kind of continue that path. We're not creating a path for him. We're just keeping the one that he was already on. He's a special kid.
Yeah, one of the things Dutch has talked a lot about this year is rebounding. A month ago, he said that's the number one thing I want us to improve on. A few days ago, he said we're getting better, but we still need to keep working at it. One of the things he said that was really interesting is we don't have the instinctual rebounders that we had in the past. So we have to work harder at rebounding and emphasize it and drill it more. And I'm thinking of maybe an AG, and that's instinctual. I think back at Dennis Rodman, right? He's the poster boy for rebounding, and he would talk about how he knew where the ball was going to bounce off of the rim as soon as the shot went up. And like that is an art there. That's probably not something you can sit somebody down and like explain to them. So like, how do they work on that in practice, where someone isn't instinctual, but you need to drill it in them?
Yeah, there's definitely certain things you can. I mean, it helps by putting them in certain positions. Like if you are a corner guy, and we're not doing the duck end where we're cracking on the block or whatever, because it's a little bit more open this year. But if we're not down there, then you can find a rebounding route to where, you can work it for sure on that swim around the quick box out, because you're not really allowed to box out anymore. You just check them real quick at this level. It's not like don't go by me, like you can't actually box out. You just got to check them as good as you can and then go get the ball at some point. So, but you can work on a rebounding route, but mostly if you can work your way down there, then on the backside, then just start wedging. If you're not going to time it to where you're just skying for a tip dunk, then just start wedging to where you're the backside block. The closer you can get, but long before the shot, like as soon as it goes up, then just start nudging your guy under the rim while he's still in a defensive position. He's not ready to battle you for a box out yet. So just get that quick 2 steps, get him under the net real quick. Then when the ball comes up, you now have all this real estate over here to where you're not having to time it to where it just gets you right in the hands every time. Or like Mike is talking about, just getting lucky. Like you've nudged it, you've created that 5 extra feet to where if it hits and goes anywhere that way, you can go run it down. That's kind of creating your own luck. That's making your own space. Jaden's kind of like a Kevin Love rebounder where he's just going to carve it out and just make it messy and go grab it. And he's just like a bull down there. He's flailing and doing his thing, but he's going to end up coming up with a bunch of them. And so, Miles is super long. Miles can get some of those long rebounds, and Reese needs to keep getting some. Elijah's got to get some. Jay Powell's getting those arms higher and higher and the timing. So I think it's coming, but I definitely know what he's saying. You just get so spoiled with guys that like, you just know we're getting the rebound. Nate had that just next level length that we're seeing on the Hornets now to where like, no, Nate didn't get 25 rebounds a game, but when the game was on the line, he always got them. He always ended up getting that big stop, whether it was a block or grabbing the ball. And we got to find new ways to win now. We had special players and they're not here, and we got special players again. So I think it's just different. I think that when you have guys in the program, as long as some of those guys were, the success just kind of looked the same way for a while. And now it's new faces and new names on the back, but that record stays the same.
So now that we're in Mountain West play, the league looks like it's very good. There's 4 teams ranked today. I think 5 or 6 teams in, bracketologists predicting the tournament field. Have you had any time to check out any of the other teams, and what do you make of how this conference is going to play out?
Yeah, I've seen a couple. I've seen some of Colorado State. I haven't seen Utah State much yet. I love Coach Sprinkle. I've known him for a long time. Happy for him. Still seen New Mexico. Seen San Jose State. They're going to be, obviously coming up, but they're going to be who they are. They're going to execute. They run great stuff. They can hit open shots. They can really get hot. They have length. And they're always pose a threat. I mean, they just did it to Boise. They scared the crap out of them. And so they really, really run good stuff to where if you don't have NBA talent, then you come back the other way and you do a little bit more predictable, a little bit more deliberate in your execution, and you're not just hooping because it's not raw talent. And so it's hard to take those type teams out of their game. There's different ways to do it to where maybe you let them run their sets and you just contest every single stinking shot, no matter what. It's like, you know what, get through what you're getting through, but we're rock solid today. We're not gambling. We're not trapping. We're just going to contest, and then we're going to run down a rebound. Or maybe you do. Maybe you get up and you say, screw it. We're going to speed you up and make you play with our length and talent and speed. And so it's regardless of the opponents, because the league is going to be good. I think that the league champ could drop, four games or so. But it's going to be fun to see, because what I've found interesting just personally, having done these scouts for so long, is as a team starts running their offense and all these things, is I'm trying to figure out what's on purpose and what's a mistake, to where like, okay, we've let him dribble drive middle twice. Fresno kept getting middle and we were kind of hugged up elsewhere. So once I saw it time and time again, I was like, I'm pretty dang sure the goal was to make the guy with the ball finish, to where we're not going to let him just suck us in and throw it out there and shoot for threes. Now I'll have to talk with Dave and figure out if I'm right or wrong every now and then, but it's been fun to kind of decipher, like, all right, I wonder if we were supposed to allow that post entry there. I wonder if that was the late double or if it was a desperation double where somebody was lost and just kind of came over. And so the scouts will be key again. I mean, these teams are very good. Colorado State's obviously dangerous. I mean, New Mexico is going to score like crazy with those three guards. Like I said, I haven't seen enough of Utah State to comment yet. I know that they had no points returning from last season, so I got to learn that new roster. That's unbelievable. I'm so happy for Spring, man. He's so cool, but he's really, really got it going. And I think out of all the records, not being biased, I think our schedule was the hardest. I think we've proved the most. Obviously, Colorado State has great wins, but where we've played and who we've played, I think was the toughest one. And so I feel really, really good about where we're at. I think that we have fewer questions than other teams. I think there's other really good teams, but they're probably still figuring out, like, I wonder where we're going to stack up for San Diego State, though. I wonder where we're going to stack up, at the pit. And that doesn't mean you go to the pit and win, but it's like, who are we in the pit? And so, I mean, New Mexico could win every home game this conference. That's how good they are. Like, maybe they can't win a road game and they win every game at home. Like, they're that good. And so it's just more about the test. Were you ready for that occasion? Did you perform under that situation? And I think that the schedule that we built, a little intimidating early, we got through it really, really well. The guys have to feel good about it. They have to know, not we did it, but hey, that's what we're about to go do. That's what it's going to be every night. UNLV's already got some big night for when we get there or something. And I mean, it's always been every orange out, white out, black out when we're there, but that's why you go to Gonzaga. That's why you go to Grand Canyon is this is what it's going to take to get another ring. And that's the only reason why you tip it up, is to go win championships. So
you were talking earlier about Lamont and saying that, you don't have to just score to be able to really impact the game in a high way. And I think if it's possible, I think because Nathan Mensah was not an elite scorer at the college level, I think people didn't fully appreciate how good he was.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And I think the fact that, okay, he's in the NBA is maybe a sign that he's really, really good.
He's pretty good.
Other people are seeing it, but I mean, not it. And truthfully, I think for all of us here, like, it's not surprising. People would ask, like, who's going to be the guy from that team who's going to go play in the league? And I said, well, it's Nathan Mensah. He's the guy who's just unique and crazy and, all those things.
Right.
You see from the 1% that make it or whatever. But just what are your thoughts about Nate being, in the NBA, the kind of player and person that he is, and just seeing that success for him?
Yeah, we were exchanging messages the other day. And I was like, man, where can I go buy a jersey? Because I didn't know if the Mensah jersey, I didn't even look. I was like, I don't know if the Mensah jersey's on Fanatics yet, or am I going to have to like customize it or something? And he just wrote back, you got to go buy it. And so he's so down to earth. He knows exactly who he is. He knows exactly what he's on this planet to do. He's one of those that genuinely, helps your day, whether you're texting him, seeing him in the locker room, like I was so fortunate to do for those 5 years. I mean, you're never going to see Nate and then walk up to the office or the locker room and be like, what's wrong with Nate? Like, I wonder what he's going through today. Like never. Even when he was having those finger issues and stuff early in his career, when his thumb was messed up, and then he came up right after getting it fixed and he was like this, and his finger was down. And I was like, why are you doing that? And he goes, it won't stay up. And he lifted it up and it goes right back down. And I'm
No
like,
way.
Well, that's not good. And so but like, he just has this demeanor about him to where he's just so even keeled and yes, coach and no coach. And I swear, I don't know if it was his guy Koo or somebody back home or whoever, but somebody must have brainwashed him of like, this is how you talk to coaches, because you could rip him or you could tell him he's the best player ever. And he's going to go, yes, sir. Yes, coach. And we're like, all right. I mean, a little bit more would be fine. And then he'd go down in the locker room and he'll turn the music up and he'll start jumping and dancing and telling funny. He's the funniest guy on the team. And so it's like, all I got was yes, coach. And then, I mean, obviously if we're walking to lunch, we'll talk it up and talk plenty, but on the court, he was very businesslike. And then, so for him to make it, it's just, I think back to all the stories. I think back to his official visit when he was coming and he took forever to decide, even when his buddy Joel had already committed and Nate took like 3 more months, when it's like, I thought you were coming. He's like, well, I think I am, but I'm not ready yet. I'm like, okay. And so, I mean, he's just, like you said, he's just doing what he does. It's still not flashy, but I think the other night he had like 6 rebounds in 10 minutes or something, and he had 2 charges, and nobody in the NBA is used to that. He took a charge on James Harden that was so blatant that nobody even argued it. And I mean, he's just standing there waiting for him, and he's gonna change the game. He just got the defensive play of the week or whatever, beating that shot off the glass the other night. I mean, he's never gonna be like their main center, but the fact that he made it is just the coolest thing in the world. And it is. Even when we were with him, they were like, oh, how's his jumper? How's his touch coming along? Everybody just wanted to talk offense. And it's like, people can't score on us, because even if they get by our elite guards and Lamont and Darian and all this, like they got to meet him. And so I think we just got used to it, because Keshad was similar. AG was similar. Lamont can score, but he has that role right now to where like these guys just do winning basketball stuff. And he's not on the Hornets by accident. Nobody's doing him a favor. Nobody's doing something to be nice. Like, he earned it. He's so special. He's an NBA player, and nobody can take that away from him.
That's it. I think my favorite play of his career, and it's just such a mild one, but I'm gonna blank on his name. Sherfield or Sheffield, the point guard for Nevada.
Grant Sherfield, yeah.
Sherfield, yeah. And by the end of his career, when you all would switch 1 through 5 and Nate was out on him, he would call for a screen to switch Nate off of him. And I had never,
which you never see.
Never.
No.
I mean, he can score.
No.
Sherfield can absolutely just fill it up. And I could not believe that he would be like, no, I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna go against this guy.
Right. No, that was the wrong switch. Bad. Like, go get a different switch. Give me the wing or somebody.
Yes.
No, well, and you'll notice though, you don't notice anymore, he's gone, but you would have noticed in the non-conference, they don't know. So they're like, oh, I got the 5, and they do the back up through the legs and they get that momentum, and Nate's just like hover hand for a mile and then trust his feet. And he blocked so many jump shots, which is impossible to do. But no, non-conference guards didn't know. And like you're saying, like the league guards knew. Like, no, I got the switch. It's not for me this time.
Yeah, pretty amazing. No, I remember
Yeah.
Coach Hurley from Arizona State basically saying like we should have when we all went down there to Arizona State and beat them up, and he was like, we got everything we wanted. We were one-on-one with our guards with their center, and we just need to be able to do more with that. And they're like, well, nobody has done more with that, but
Right.
this
Yeah, I
has
mean,
been
if it's
great.
not for about one or two guys, he's the defensive player of the year in all of college basketball, not just the reigning Mountain West defensive player of the year. So
Absolutely, just absolutely special. But this has been great. We really appreciate your time. But before we let you go, man, love an update from you, brother. I mean, how are you doing? How's the new world for you and everything that you're
yeah,
doing and changing up and all that?
I'm all good. We've done more family events in 3 months than we had probably in 10 years. And so things are coming together really well. The job's going well, still learning the new industry, but definitely enjoying it. I'm getting a little bit of an itch to find the game just a little bit. I may do some clinics or something on weekends, like Saturday morning, like 8 to 10, get like 5 to 10 kids in there, and there's local schools right around the corner. So I don't think I'll ever be able to call myself a trainer, but I may get a little clinic in with 5 to 10 kids and just kind of help probably some youth. I don't think I'm going to get into older guys quite yet, but I've got an in with a nephew out here who's 13, and he's on a little 7th grade team that I like being around. And so, I mean, the game's in my blood, but I'm super happy, super content with the way things are going and the new different life, direction we're going. It's been really cool. So Peyton's got a birthday coming up. We're going to some cool trampoline park, and I mean, it's just little stuff like that. Like we wouldn't be able to do it. We'd do it on like a Tuesday night and call it that. But I know in 2 Saturdays we got a fun birthday party. I'll be there no matter what. And it's risk reward or loss reward, whatever you want to call it. But no, it's going well. It's just different, and I'm enjoying it. So I like watching the games. I haven't yet told myself like, man, I wish I was down there. Like I haven't honestly had that thought at all, which has been good because you don't know how you're going to feel. But I haven't thought that. I'll miss certain parts of it till the day I die. Like the same way I do my playing career. Nothing will ever replace it. I think I said that last time. I don't even want anything else to replace it. It was that special. It was that meaningful. And it's just time to do something a little bit different. But it's I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how long I get to claim the program. Like, because I know coaches of programs, like, just say Illinois, for example. Like, well, if a coach coached at Illinois for 7 years, well, when he's 60, does he still get to say, like, that's my team? Like, I don't ever want it to not be my team. Whereas right now I can still claim it, but I don't know if I have that type of hold on it to where it's like, no, this is my team forever. So I think it kind of does since I left the industry. I didn't like go to Georgia Tech or anything else, and do it somewhere else. That was where I went out. So I think I get to claim it forever, but I'm going to TCU games this week. We're going to go Wednesday and Saturday to some home games. I know the coach is there and everything. So I'm going to get my fix somewhere. I'm not going to be far from it, but I'm going with the wife and going to bring the babies on Saturday to that game. So I don't know how much basketball I'll be watching, but but it's going really well, man. It's cool. I appreciate you asking.
Awesome, man. Lucky kids who get to be in your clinic circle or whatever you're calling that, man. But again, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for.
I don't have a name for it. I don't know.
I don't know. Man, lucky kids. I think it works.
I'm just saying I'm going to find a gym and bring some kids in there. That's all I'm calling it.
That's awesome. But again, thank you for your time and best to you with everything. It's just incredible time.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Let's do it again here going through the conference.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Have a good night, man. Guys, that was our interview with JD Pollock. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as Paul and I did. He provided a lot of great insight to the team, stuff that, someone from the outside that wasn't day-to-day in with these coaches and players for so many years would probably not have. So always good to catch up with JD. And as he said, we hope to get him on one more time at least towards the end of the season, maybe heading into the conference tournament around that time. So definitely, hopefully we'll have him back and check out that. As always, We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We will have some more stuff coming up to you later this week. I know we have some football interviews lined up and recorded, ready to go for the next episode. So definitely stay tuned for that. Make sure you are subscribed on YouTube and any of your favorite audio platforms. Notifications on, so when new episodes come out, you are the first to find out about it. Once again, Happy New Year. We hope for a amazing 2024 for San Diego State Athletics, and we'll talk to you guys next time. You are listening to the SDSU podcast presented by the East Village Times with your hosts Andre Hagberdian and Paul Garrison.